Welcome to the Jackson
Welcome,
Joint Love and
welcome.
Marriage Podcast. How are you all doing out
How
there?
y'all doing?
Yes, I hope that you all are doing wonderful. So first, I just want to say thank you so much for pulling up to the Jackson Joint to see what in the world me and this guy and me are going to be on here talking about. We are ecstatic.
So excited.
We are excited to begin this new journey. And so again, welcome. So as you saw, when you logged on, whether it's on here or you're listening on a podcast app, the name of this episode is Meet the Jacksons.
Yes.
Right? And so we
let's do
think that it's pretty important for you guys to get a feel for who we are as you go on this Jackson Joint journey with us. You know, as we hear about different people's stories and we unpack different topics surrounding marriage and life and parenting and love and all those wonderful things, we thought it would be necessary to lay that foundation for you guys on who we are, what our journey has been like, and just what brought us to this place of starting the Jackson Joint podcast. So why don't we just jump right into it?
Just jump right in.
Like just dig on
Tell
in?
the people a little bit about yourself.
Just a smidge?
Yeah,
a little
just a
teaspoon?
smidge, yeah.
Okay. So just a little teaspoon about me. My name is Miesha Jackson, affectionately known as Mimi. Everybody calls me Mimi, so you too can call me Mimi. A Chicago native, born and raised on the south side of Chicago. I am 39. I will be 40 this year, so it's a big milestone year for me. This is year 15 of marriage, so another milestone. So this was a really big, ginormous year. I am an entrepreneur by trade, so image consultant and personal branding consultant. My consultancy is called Style 73, Image and Personal Branding Consultant, and I'm also a podcast host. So in addition to the Jackson Joint podcast, I also host another podcast called Village Vibes Only, and that podcast is definitely more dedicated to youth and just the elders of the village. So the mothers, the fathers, the aunts, the uncles, pastors, mentors, next door neighbors, adults coming together and sharing our wisdom on whatever the topic may be for that episode to ultimately take this information, these nuggets of wisdom back to your respective homes, to enrich your young people, to learn all the things that we didn't know growing up so that they can be successful early in life, later in life, and also learn how to be leaders right now. We want to cultivate that sense of leadership in them. So that one is definitely more heavily focused on, again, building up the next generation to be successful and be pillars of change in their communities, both local and abroad. So teaching them about politics and how to build wealth and real estate and mental health, emotional wellness, how to garden and grow their own food, talk about community activism, learning their rights, their Bill of Rights, what to do if they were ever pulled over by a police. So a lot of practical life skills, but also just strategies and skills and tips and know-how on just how to thrive and be the voice of change in their own lives and in their community. So again, that's Village Vibes Only podcast, and that is definitely a passion project for me. And that's where you really get to encounter me as Mimi the mother, and then which leads me to the Jackson Joint, which is where you get to encounter me more as Mimi the wife. So you see that other side of me. And over here we talk about, again, love, marriage, life, parenting, and just all the things that come with building a relationship and creating that foundation for success in marriage to prepare generations that will come from your union to be healthy and whole. So that's what we do over here at the Jackson Joint. What are some other things about me? So I love fashion, obviously, because I'm an image consultant. I'm an absolute lover of music. Give me anything 80s, 90s R&B, jazz, neo soul, definitely. That's me. I'm gonna be vibing out to some music at all times. Like my kids are definitely getting the feel of what it's like to grow up with a black mama blasting Anita Baker on Saturdays. They know what that means, that it's time to get up and hit them baseboards and get up and clean or whatever it may be. Yes, I'm that
She's that mom.
I'm that mom to the T. So again, yeah, I'm a mother to two wonderful boys that keep me busy. They're 13 and 8. And 13 and 7, I'm sorry.
Right.
I know. Let me slow it down. So, yeah, and I've been married to this wonderful guy for 15 years.
Yes.
So yeah, and I'm a sister and I'm a daughter and yeah, and I love Jesus.
Yes. All those good things.
All those wonderful things. So that is me. Now I will pass it over to my handsome co-host and let him tell you a little bit about himself.
All right. So a little bit about me again, as she said, I am David Jackson. I am also from the South Side of Chicago.
South Side, stand up.
Yes, Chicago native for sure. I grew up. I'm the youngest of 12 in my family. I have 9 sisters and 2 brothers, and I grew up a PK. So my dad was the pastor of our church for 20 years, and then upon his retirement, my sister took over as the pastor, and I served pretty much in almost every area of ministry, multiple areas of church leadership, and that really, my experience in the church, working and serving in ministry, really led me to what I do from as an entrepreneur myself. So I have a company called At Your Service Church Technology Solutions. I consult with churches on how to be more efficient so that they're ultimately more effective, helping them to streamline their ministry operations with the use of technology and sound processes. So, which is such an important thing, because all too often, unfortunately, so many churches have staff that are just overwhelmed, burned out because they are doing things, without really sound processes, doing a lot of things manually, and just not a lot of direction. And so you're just spinning your wheels and burning the candle at both ends. So what ends up happening is people drop off, they get burned out, they just quit. So what I help churches do is to help them help their people to serve better, and then ultimately be more effective in their ministry overall. So you can find more information about At Your Service at atyourservicects.com. Again, that is definitely that's a passion project for me, right? But I also have a day job. I work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I've been doing that for about 14 years. So that's a little bit about me, but I'm also 80s, 90s kid, and I'm a former musician myself, so that's another connection point for us. We love music, we love live music, love going to concerts. That's been our one of our things. So what else? Yeah, like she said, we got the 2 boys. I love parenting them, being an example of what a man should be as they grow up. I had a great and wonderful example of a father and a man, in my dad.
We love you, Dad.
And we miss him so much. But, I hope to be half the man, that he is. And, just a great example for my boys. And not just my boys, but for the community at large. So, again, we are here in the Jackson Joint. I've been a husband now for 15 years. I hope I've learned a little something that I can impart or share or, encourage other brothers that are on this marriage journey, relationship journey, on your way to marriage. So that's what we're looking to do here at the Jackson Joint, to be a light for marriage, and especially Black love, Black marriage, showing that there are successful, healthy Black marriages out there, and that what you see on TV and social media is, on the negative side, which is often shown, is not the only side. So,
right.
We're doing our part to show that here at the Jackson Joint.
To strengthen the village, just playing our part in the village. All right, so that's the formalities. Now let's get to the juicy stuff.
Let's get to the
juicy smoosy stuff. So we're gonna just talk about how we met, right? Mm-hmm. So just the story.
How did this all go down?
How did I meet this buzzard? So people think when we say that we met in high school that indicates that we were high school sweethearts, but we were not. We didn't date until many years later. So we met in high school. We both attended Lynn Bloom Technical High School. Eagle swoop.
Swoop, swoop.
99 swoop. 97 swoop. 99 is the best class of them all. Let's just be clear.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Right,
even though the class of 97 was popping though. I can't even front. I did like the class of 97. Y'all definitely got it popping like at all times. But class 99 hands down. Let's just be clear on that. 99
We'll have
swoop.
to agree to disagree on that.
Anywho, so I entered into high school in 1995. He was already there. So I was coming in my freshman year. He was
I was a junior.
Man, we got throwback.
Yes.
I entered high school in 1995.
I entered
like
in
that
93,
just feels.
So,
Oh God.
Yeah.
But we still look good.
Shoot. Y'all wouldn't know how old we were less we told y'all.
Less we told you. Okay. Not unless, but less.
Less we told y'all.
So again, I entered in 95. I was a freshman, and he was a junior, and so. Per usual, when I was in my gym class, per usual, this guy was in there and he was not supposed to be, because while he is extremely smart, he's one of those people who they just don't do the right thing in school. You know how you just find people who are just like naturally smart, but they just will not apply themselves as a student? That was this guy. He was just the guy who would blow off all school year but still get an A on the test. Like, it would just make you mad. See, I had to work for my A's. He was just one of those. He read a couple of notes like at the butt end of the school year and just, I don't know, I don't get it. But anyway, he was in my gym class, and I told this story a million times, but it's always so funny to me. I guess I had on some bulky socks. Socks they just keep my feet warm. Like, I don't really care about socks. I'm not a sock person, so I just had on some socks. They probably was my brother's socks or something. Who knows? But they were big and kind of twisted.
Mm-hmm.
And just not right. And so he used that as his
I took
end.
notice, and I had to call out. I mean, look, so let me set what was the real,
all right? You set the scene.
So she was, I think she was in the process of like changing for gym.
Yeah, changing
right?
for gym. Yeah.
And so she had taken her shoes off. So you could tell that she was trying to hurry up and put them shoes back on, because she had them joints with a sock like fold over under the bottom. That's what she was trying to hide.
Create an ankle sock.
It's like, you know how it was. You got them tube socks, but you're trying to make them ankle socks, so you fold them at the bottom in the shoe. So I noticed that. So I gave her a hard time about that. I rolled her about that like every chance I got. But that was really
that's
like how we first met. Mm-hmm. And, and that was kind of my, banter moment or point of banter that I could use to continue to, to stay close.
Right.
And,
so he would just joke with me about my socks. And then I would try to do like the typical girl attitude, like, don't be talking about my socks. Ain't nothing wrong with my socks, and all of this. At the same time, I'm laughing inside because it is kind of funny. So this just became like a daily thing. He was just always around in my gym period. Now, mind you, I'm a freshman. He's a junior. Why he's in there, I have no idea, because he's just cutting class.
It's called upperclassmen privilege.
No, it's called cutting class.
I mean, a privilege.
And so he was just in there. So this just kind of became my thing. And so we just became really cool friends. And I don't even really remember how he got my number, but I'm gonna let him explain how he thinks he remembers getting my number.
Okay, so
I want you to I want you to see how this guy used to move.
Okay, so
oh Lord.
At the time, me and my best friend,
who shall remain
nameless, he was actually into Mimi, right? I had a girlfriend at the time, so I wasn't trying to be up on her like that. While I was peeping game for sure, she was cute. I mean, come on. So I mean, I had to, give her that attention. But I was in my relationship trying to focus that on there, and so me and my guy, we worked together at the time. So he got her number, and so he wanted me to be. So it was pretty much like, if y'all remember the scene on 5 Heartbeats, the shy guy, shy brother, right? That was kind of how this whole thing went, unintentionally though, right? So he was too nervous to call, so he asked me to call to be kind of the intermediary. But she and I like clicked, and we were the ones talking.
But you came to my house. I came to my house.
Exactly.
This wasn't over the phone.
So we initially tried reaching over the phone, but then we were able to, because she lived not too far from where we worked. It was like in between. She lived in between where we worked in school. So we went by there. We would stop by there on different days after school before we went to work, and he never really like spoke up about Diddy. I mean, he never expressed his interest, but he was interested. But she and I were cool, so it was just he just ended up getting butted out the picture. Unfortunately, it wasn't intentional.
No, it was intentional because he sent you to my door on some old "tell her I like her" type stuff, and you got to my door and told me how you like me. I mean, just as tacky.
I mean,
no, yeah, you know, I mean, like I remember it as clear as day.
I was just making things clear.
So he's sitting at out in the car, like, man, okay, oh wow, he is really sealing the deal. Again, like on 5 Heartbeats, like, oh man, working, he really getting me in there. She's smiling, blah blah blah. Whole time, this guy is like making a pitch for himself. So what did you say when you got back to the car, though? I can't even...
I have no clue.
Just like, what was that conversation like?
That was, what,
over that was a lifetime ago. So we can laugh about it now.
Yeah, he gonna kill us when he hear this. He gonna kill us when he hear this.
But it's all good. We were kids, babies, essentially.
Much,
so,
yes.
Again... So that's how it all kind of started with us, with the whole number thing, and then just us getting cool. But we really stayed friends, like real tight friends. And then because, again, he's 2 years older, he ended up going away to college. And I'm still in high school. Then 2 years later, I graduated and went to college. He went to Illinois State University. I went to University of Illinois, better known as U of I, down in Champaign. And so... we were disconnected for a couple of years. And then through a mutual friend, I don't even remember how we got reconnected. But
actually, before then, I came back. I was at your
class scene.
Your class scene.
Yeah, and I was like super duper like excited to see him. And I remember going like, oh my God, David! I like gave him this big hug, and like his girlfriend at the time was looking at me like, if you don't back up, but I'm just like excited to see my friend. He came up there stunned. He had on his little Kappa shirt.
I had my period.
He was all excited because he had just crossed. And so I was like, oh my God, it's David. Because I hadn't seen him at that point for 2 years because he had already been away. But we didn't exchange numbers at that time.
Nope.
And so, because I saw you for all of like 10 minutes because you had to greet the rest of your fans. Yeah. And so, so again, so time passes. At some point, maybe my junior year of college, we ended up getting reconnected through a mutual friend. And he got my dorm number, and then the rest has really been history. When he would come down to visit his niece, who also went to the same university that I did. And when he would just be down there with his frat, he would stop by and visit me, and we would hang for the weekend. And it was still just on some friend stuff because, he was in a relationship, I was in a relationship. And, we was just two old friends just connecting. Everything pretty much changed the summer of 2003. That was kind of where the shift started. So 2003 is when you want me to kick the story off? Okay.
Go ahead.
So 2003 is when I graduated from college. And so I came back to Chicago, and he invited me on a church retreat. So, I had started going to church when I was like 16, and I had a God conscience, but I was not like saved. So I was like, what we about to be doing on this little retreat? Like, we about to just be praying and holding hands? Like, because I got some heathen stuff to do, okay? I'm like...
I'm fresh out of
college. Look, what are we about to be doing on this little retreat? I had never been on a church retreat, so all I'm picturing is like long denim skirts and K-Swiss and tucked in T-shirts. Just real stereotypical and just ignorant, right? So that's all I'm picturing. I'm like, how I gotta be dressed? Because So... But he invited me, and I was like, okay, I'll go. Because I think you had been trying for, like, a long time to get me to, like, go. And I was like, okay. So then I went, and I really did have a good time. I met some great people who I was able to continue to, strengthen a relationship with over the years. It was a great time. And I was so glad that I had gone. And there was just so many interesting things about that
Ooh,
retreat.
yeah.
I was just looking at him like,
Why did I do
oh
that?
my God.
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna get into that, but it was interesting. I'm like, this guy got a lot going on. So,
As
but
in
I'm just there as the
different
friend.
people.
It was just a lot, but I'm
yeah.
just there. I'm just there as the friend,
As the friend.
as the BFF that he tells everything to. So I'm just sitting back watching this, like, oh my God,
This dude got his
this dude.
girl.
It was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
God
Young
is faithful. God is
and
faithful.
immature. Yes.
God
Lord,
is faithful.
thank
God
you.
truly he
Thank you
he
for
kept
growing
his
me
hand
up,
on you.
God,
He
yes.
truly did. All the prayers that mom and dad must have put in the atmosphere, they came to fruition for you at some point later in life. They came through. So anyway, so that's the retreat, right? And
even on the retreat though, I mean, we pretty much hung.
Even on the retreat, we got in trouble.
We got in trouble because we were like not folling the.
So you got to
rules
remember,
of
I'm
the
21,
camp.
not churched, right? He is David, so just doing whatever he want to do. So I'm not really thinking nothing is a big deal, right? So we're just up, and I'm talking. Everybody else on the retreat is asleep. It's 4 and 5 in the morning. We're just up talking. So the next day, when it's time for seminars or whatever, retreat activities, we're dozing off, like full out, like head nod, dozing off. And so people was like looking at us like I think somebody pulled us to the side and like kind of scolded us like, that is disrespectful. Y'all are sitting there dozing off right in front of the speaker. I'm just looking like, I mean,
I'm just a guest here.
I don't know what you want me to do. I'm sleepy. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I'm just young and just oh my God, just in my own little world. So I was just like, who you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? Like that was kind of my mentality. I'm like, David,
you better get your people.
Get your people.
But that really is just like, that's really the foundation of our relationship. Like we talked.
Yeah, we did. We did. So
time.
Again, it was, so like I said, it was funny because I'm like, oh my God, we've like for real just got in trouble.
Right.
So, but the thing was, but we did it again though. It was like we just kept talking and just being up. We ended up missing dinner. And it was just crazy. So that was that retreat, right? And so then during this time, I'm still in a relationship. He's still kind of coming out of one. So we're still back in Chicago now, hanging all the time, sun up, sun down. You can maybe kind of give more texture to that part.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally like we spent every day together. I mean, we were, give an example of kind of the craziness. I would go to work. I wouldn't even come home first. I would go to her house and we'd just be sitting on the porch or sitting in my car just talking. And several times we talked all night till sunrise. And then I went home to get dressed to go straight to work. Like went to work off no sleep. And that happened a few times. I ended up being late a couple times and they ended up firing me because I'm fooling around with this one right here. Like full out got laid off because I was late a couple
and we weren't
times.
even like dating at this
point.
point.
We was just like hanging. It was
super
just
tight. Yeah.
Just having fun. Just talking about the sky is blue and you look up and that 3 hours pass by and we talking. So that was really, that's what made that summer really just so magical.
Yeah,
I mean, just how much fun we had just really doing nothing. It was just simple. We just clicked and just got along. And, as she stated, I had come out of a relationship. She was on the end, toward the end of a relationship. And these were like serious long-term, like engagement, level relationships. And they both, were ending around the same time. And, as she had stated earlier, like we were who each other talked to about our relationships, the secrets, all of that. Like we were able to be that open and raw with each other because this was my best friend and there was no judgment. There was no criticism or whatever. It was just like, for real, and we had that type of relationship. So now we're in this stage of our lives where, the relationships are ending and we are now hanging. So it was starting to put both of us kind of in a
compromising,
compromising
sticky
situation. Yeah.
because you're like, okay, this person is great. We have throwback history. Like this is Dave from high school. This is Mimi, my friend from high school. We weren't new people to one another. So it's just like, okay, now this is becoming something else. It's becoming deeper. And I mean, because you're spending all that time together, and the chemistry is magnetic, and the vibe is so easy and so chill. It's just like, okay, it's no question that that's going to eventually start to spur feelings, and now you're becoming. Now you got a real live entanglement. Going on.
Straight
now,
up.
You know what I'm saying? Now it's hashtag entanglement. And so you're like, okay, all right. How do I properly do this? Like, how do I properly close that last door before I open this new door? Because what I don't want to do is hurt this person. And what I don't want to do is string my past along, you know what I mean? Or confuse them, or, so now it just becomes a lot. And one point that I really want to make in this is that, and you can apply this wherever you need to in your life, is to just always properly close the former door before you open the new one.
Yes.
Because what you don't want to do is just bring any residue or you don't want to bring any residue or just unnecessary struggle or mess into your new season that can be so beautiful. That was the blessing that was supposed to be yours the whole time, but because you didn't properly close the last door, now you're entangling two different seasons all in one, and you can't tell which one is which anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to give more texture to
and
that.
That's and to your point, that applies in many areas.
In many
of life,
areas,
right?
yeah.
That's relationships, changing churches, changing jobs. I mean, you leave one season wounded, and you bring those wounds into a new season, then the people or the atmosphere, the environment of the new season end up suffering from your old wounds. Mm-hmm. So, that's where I'll put this pen, in addition to making sure to close doors right, for the sake of other individuals, it's also for your own personal sake. Like, take some time to heal. When we go through seasons where we get hurt or are wounded from whatever the situation may be, especially in relationships, take the time to really sit yourself down somewhere and learn how to be alone for a minute and process through your feelings and your thoughts. Because what is most common is that people will jump from one relationship to another as a way to kind of soothe that hurt, right? They're using the new relationship to fill the void of the old and to kind of pacify that pain that they may be in. But all you're doing is now potentially creating a situation where you'll replicate hurt in the new relationship.
Absolutely. And it doesn't mean that the new thing is not meant. Sometimes it's just everything there's a season. And I think that, so in terms of our case, like we mentioned, we're seeing, because we didn't anticipate it happening the way that it did. Again, we were just two friends hanging, but then it became something else. And so now things that you wouldn't have been bothered by, now you're bothered.
Oh, yeah.
Or when it was just like, well, I don't really care what you're doing when you're not around me. Now it becomes like, okay, but
where were you? Who are you?
Right. Now it's becoming something else, even though a relationship has not been declared, and you still kind of got a toe in your whole past relationship. So it was just literally two friends becoming lovers, and just at the timing of a former relationship ending, and just. So then, like in every love story, there comes the break.
There's the break.
And it just becomes like, okay, well, there needs to be a separation of sorts, because you got to figure this out,
Yeah. It's almost like the movie Love Jones. And if you ain't seen Love Jones, it's okay. We have
that's
to fight.
Our favorite movie. Yeah.
Yes, that's our favorite movie. And, when it gets to the part where Nia Long and Lorenz Tate have that break, it's like it reminds me of our story so much. And it was like, I really risked losing her.
Because in the movie, when Nia Long went back to, I think it was in New York, with her former boyfriend, she was already so into Lorenz Tate and
Right.
knew she was. I think it
Mhm.
was just this idea, like, let me just make sure that this door is
Yep.
is fully closed. And that's essentially, you know, what it was. And so I think, like, to his point, so during that time, I just was like, no, like, once I'm done, I'm done. So I was done. I didn't, now that doesn't mean I didn't need to sit myself down somewhere and process through what I had just experienced, you know, being in a 6-year relationship and needing to just really process through, okay, what was that, you know, and just kind of comb through all of that whole experience and really heal if there was anything to be healed. But for me, it was just like, I don't really need to go and figure anything out. Like, no, I'm certain I'm done, because I'm just wired like that. Like, no,
Mhm.
once I'm done, I'm pretty much done. I'm either in or out. I don't really do both, and so we're just different in that way. He's just more of a give second, third, and fourth, fifth chances, and I just gotta make sure, and I just, you know, and
Then I
well,
have family members that would encourage me to give it
not the
another
gotta
shot.
make sure part, because I mean, you want that,
Yeah.
but it's just also, I think we're just wired differently when it comes to just letting our yes be yes and our no be no.
Yeah.
And so we're just different in that way, and that was a lot of what it was. So again, so my thing was like, fam,
I ain't got
let's be
time.
real clear.
Right.
One thing there is no shortage of on this end is suitors, okay? People who could potentially be interested. So I'm like, you can go ahead and figure out what you need to figure out, because one thing I'm not gonna be is over here looking like,
The third
ooh,
wheel.
twiddling my thumbs. And it wasn't even about I can just hop on to the next person, because that's not even what I was interested in either. But what the point that I was making with that was, I know what I am. I know what I offer. I know what I bring, and so I'm not in competition with absolutely anybody. And so I want you to fix whatever it is that you need to fix, and we'll just kind of, you know, see where it goes. And that was essentially what happened. And but our friendship is what kept us connected, and we keep
Yes.
coming back to the friendship part, because that was really the tie that binds, you know, that was the binding tie for us. We were always still friends, and so even during that, we're still talking, you know, as friends and sharing things. And yeah,
Yeah,
so
and even though the relationship was fractured somewhat, it was the fact that we could always come back to have conversation, the fact that we could always find, you know, pull on our friendship and find a moment of laughter. Like, those were the things, to your point, like, that was the friendship was the tie that kept us together. And it's really been our foundation.
yeah.
Ever
So now
since.
just kind of walk them through, like, how we moved past that part. Like, what was the turning point?
I had to wake up to see that chasing something that I didn't really want, I was going to potentially lose what I did want. And it was like, okay, no, you need to snap out of that, because I saw also that she was serious. And that was really that's an important point for me to make. Like, she made it very clear that she wasn't going to be a third wheel. She wasn't going to be sitting around waiting for me to figure out what it was that I was trying to do, nor was she going to be like wearing the naive hat, acting like, you know, thinking that I've made the right decision, and then she's just going to be standing by looking goofy. Like,
Oh, no,
she made that
she don't do goofy.
very, very clear. So it was like, bruh, you need to decide about what you really want. And I saw what we had and the foundation that we had was just so much, you know, more. What I saw a future with her that I did not see, you know, with the other venture I was exploring. And
not venture.
And I'm just like, you know, like, hold on,
Come
bruh.
on, venture.
You need to get yourself together. I'm looking at the camera now. Bruh, get yourself together and before you lose this real one, right? So that was really the turning point. It was like, I knew that she was my future and the other was my past. And I had to make a decision. And so I did. So we made the relationship official, you know, again. And, you know, continue dating. And to the point where I then talked to her parents about having her hand in marriage.
Yeah, and so when he came, so when he, because the thing was, I knew it the whole time, and so it wasn't one of those where I feel like, nah, I don't know what I never was unclear, because you gotta understand, I've been knowing him for years, so I already understood his psychology, and it's not about you didn't care about these people at one point in time, but seasons change, and at this point, everybody's moving on, and so. There was just a series of events that had transpired, and so I saw what really kicked it into gear for him. As far as, man, should I go back and reconsider? And I'm not going to really get all off into those details, but I saw what the real driving force was, and so I was just like, it's so obvious, what he really wants and where he really is. But I'm never going to be the woman who makes him see why, because I'm like, why I need to be we're not doing that. I'm not about to prove myself to him or essentially anybody else, because I'm like, he's already aware, and I already knew where he was. He just needed the time to sift through all of the stuff that was, and the thing is, he knew where he really was, but sometimes it's just, again, that feel of, okay, let me. Am I, should I try it? It was almost like an obligatory feel. Yeah, it was almost like an obligatory feel.
Obligated. Yeah.
Yeah. And so because I could tell that was what it was like, okay, well, you go ahead and you figure that out. Meanwhile, I'm going to be over here doing me, whatever that means or whatever that entails. That's what I'm going to be doing. You go ahead and you figure it out. And if that's what it still is when you decide, whatever you decide, then if it's still looking like that on both ends, then we'll pursue it. But it wasn't like I was waiting. I wasn't waiting. And I wasn't sitting there like, all right. So, no, it was none of that. It was just, I already know where you are, but you have to arrive, not even arrive to that place yourself, because you had already arrived to that place. It was just, you needed to, essentially handle your business.
Yeah, I had to make a decision.
You just exactly. Are you going to move forward with the future that you want, or operate in this sense of, out of this sense of obligation that you're putting yourself under, that nobody else is putting you under? And that is not in any way a slight to the people we used to be with, because they're great people, but that doesn't mean that that's who, we're supposed to be with. So like I said, so that time, was interesting, and that's just kind of what happens, again, when you're just not managing your seasons well, and you're not being realistic with yourself. And I would try to, push some realism into the moment, like, okay, we need to make sure, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to be the voice of reason, but I'm saying that with my mouth, but my behavior is doing something different. And like he said, him being the person that he is, he's like, nah, I think we should just go ahead and, pursue. And I was just like, I don't really know. We both just coming out of something. Let's just be sure. And then, it went the way that it went. But like, as he said, he got to the place where it was like, you can put it back in your own words. And
like, I got to make a decision, because I risk losing my future.
Yeah.
If I don't. And so that we made it through that season.
Yeah.
We dated strong for 2 years, and then, like I said just a few minutes ago, I went to her parents and told them that I wanted to marry her. So I put this elaborate plan together to propose to her. We had conversations up to that point about, marriage or what have you. And she just put it out there, making sure that I knew, like, do not propose to me in public, especially at church.
Because I'm such an introvert, y'all. It's like...
She was like, definitely don't do it at church. Like, that was, because I think that's where she figured I would do it, because we spent so much time at church.
Please don't do that.
Please don't do it. So I did not do it at church, but I did do it in a public setting. So at this time, we were working together, and she worked in one building, I worked in a totally different part of the campus, but I got her coworkers in on it, and I had some of my coworkers in on it, and I showed up at her desk with flowers in hand. She was looking like, what in the world is going on? And I got down on one knee and, popped the question. But you want to talk about just kind of how you took it all in, like you seeing me coming. And...
Yeah. So, like I said, I see him come through the door. I think he had either pink or yellow roses. Both of those are my favorite. So I'm seeing him come in, but I'm not seeing him come in because it was starting to get real out of body feeling. Because I'm like, I know where this is going, and my soul has literally left my body. My soul is hovering over my body, looking down because I'm that frozen in my tracks, right? So I was like, oh my God. So I see him come through the door, and then next thing I know, I see my coworker. Shout out to Tanisha, it's one of my closest coworkers. I see her like start to scream and run through the office, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Because I had turned around for a second when I saw him come through with the roses, because I knew where this was about to go. So when I heard her run off and scream, I was like, "Oh my God, what am I about to turn around and see?"
This is happening.
And I turn around and I see him on his knee with the ring box open, with the ring out, and I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, oh my God. So now by this time, within, I swear it seemed like 45 seconds flat, like my whole office is standing outside of my office door looking, and I'm like, oh my God. So then he proposed, and I can't even remember what he said, but I know I said yes. And then within 3 minutes of saying yes, my mother called my desk phone, and she like, so are you excited? Are you happy? And I was just like, oh my God. So he already talked to you.
I already had mom on deck. I called her before.
Right.
I did
So he
like,
had
I'm
already
about to go in.
He had already had the parentals on deck. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, OMG. So then, yeah, he did that, and it was exciting. I don't even think I could focus on work for the rest of the day. I want to say my boss said you can go home for the rest of the day, or don't even worry about work, because she knew there was no way I was going to be able to focus after that. And so, yeah, we got engaged, and
8 months later.
Because we got engaged, I think, like Thursday, November 18th or something like that. It was not too long after my birthday. And then we got married the following August 25th, 2006. And the rest has really been history. We had our first child in August 2008. Yep. Our next one in 2014. And we have just built this really beautiful life together. Yes. And we just can't help but to believe like we were meant to be. And I remember you said to me recently, I don't know if you were just having one of your cheese ball moments, but you said to me, when you think you loved me at first sight, or you think you loved me from the moment you saw me in the gym room, it was something, I forgot how you said it.
Yeah, in hindsight, it's like when I think about just the journey, and when I think about just kind of how I felt towards you even back then, like, not pursuing you, but at the same time just having my eye on you and wanting to stay connected to you. And then for us to be in this position now, 15 years into marriage, it was just like, it was meant to be. It was almost like, I felt like love at first sight. Like when I saw you, I knew, I didn't know then, but it was meant to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like your soul told you that's your future.
Yeah.
That's future bae.
Deep down in my.
Yeah. It's because, so that's essentially, what ended up happening. And, like I said, it's been a blessing. And so now here we are 15 years later, and just having experienced so many different seasons and phases of marriage, and which then leads us to this podcast. We always had this plan of doing this big vow renewal for our 15th year. But with COVID, we just didn't feel like it was going to give what it needed to give. Right. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I didn't want to have to deal with the protocols of COVID and limiting the list. Because we know a lot of people who love us, and we love a lot of people, and we would have wanted a big to do. And I was just like, COVID is going to make that too challenging, so we're not going to worry about it. And we said, well, we love to talk. We have an interesting story to tell, and we want to hear other people's interesting stories. So let's just create a platform where we can just be that beacon of light into the institution of marriage, and really help to restore the beauty and the healthfulness and the wholeness of what God intended marriage to be. And we said, okay, you know what? Let's just create this podcast to do that. So as you can see, it is called The Jackson Joint, because we want you to feel like you're coming to a place, like an actual physical, you've heard of juke joints. Well, this is the Jackson Joint, and the juke joint was a place of, celebration and music, and just people were merry, and they, hung out, and it was just a place where people let their hair down and left their cares at the door and just congregated. And so we want the Jackson Joint to have that same feel, where you come here to fill your cup, to laugh and to get wisdom, to hear the stories, to see yourself,
to be encouraged,
to see yourself in some of the stories that are being shared. And and essentially with the overall purpose of the Jackson Joint being to prepare as many families as possible to have generational success. Because if you can secure the marriage, you secure this generation, every generation to come from it will reap from that. And and then now you'll have generational blessings and generational health. And we are not licensed, certified, clinical anything.
Nope.
We're not therapists, marriage and family therapists. We're just two people
Yes.
who have been married for 15 years and who
are experts in our
own experiences. And so anything we cannot speak to, that's what we're going to have other people on for.
Exactly.
So we're just kind of serving as a platform and a vessel
yes.
to, again, shine light on marriage and love and relationships and parenting and life.
And I mean, and you know, like she said, we've always talked a lot.
Yeah.
Right? That's been our thing. We stay up late nights talking, and we have been talking about, you know, while we're individually like building things, right? She's got, like we talked about at the beginning, she's got her businesses she's building, I've got my businesses I'm building, we're building our family together, but we were looking for what was something that we would build together, right? Yeah. And one day we were talking and, you know, just having conversation as we always do, and we were can't remember what it was we were talking about, but we have opinions and perspectives about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you know, Mimi was just like, why don't we start a podcast? Like, we do all this talking, we have things to share, we have, you know, wisdom to give, we have experiences that we can, you know, share with other people. Like, why not? And we talk anyway. And so it was just like, so it happened so organically. And next thing I knew, we came up with the name Jackson Joint. And it's really something that we're just super excited about. I know we're just getting started, but we're really excited about what this is going to become. Even just the topics that we'll be covering, you know, things that we really feel will really impact, you know, singles that are preparing for marriage. Folks that are married, even folks that have been married a long time and need to almost get that jolt back, you know, into their marriage.
Yep. So whenever we produce an episode, we want you to get your snacks and snuggle in, or even if you're in the car on your way to work or wherever you may be in your day, we want you to come to the Jackson Joint again to let your hair down and listen to real, raw, transparent, and honest conversations, but where the vibe is always positive. So whether you're listening in on a podcast app or you're watching us here on YouTube or any other platform, again, we thank you.
Yes,
we hope that you have enjoyed our story and learned a little bit more about our journey, because this is just I hope you've enjoyed meeting the Jacksons. This is just the beginning. There's a lot more to come, but again, thank you for tuning in, and promise us that you will pull up for further episodes.
Yes,
they don't have to promise us, right?
Please. Yes, we look forward to connecting with you guys, you know, and we're excited. So we hope that you're excited as well.
Absolutely. And do not forget to follow us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. Is it the Jackson Joint on both?
The Jackson Joint.
Yeah, the Jackson
Joint. Make it real easy for y'all. All right?
And don't forget to subscribe.
Do not forget to subscribe. Like, share. Peace.